first order of business upon our arrival in San Juan was to rent a small SUV that would serve as our primary mode of transportation as we explored the island of Puerto Rico. Then we were off to our hotel in Old San Juan.
Use the left 2 lanes to keep left onto Pier 26 West. Turn right onto Calle de la Fortaleza, then arrive at your destination.
There are a variety of boutique hotels in the neighborhood, and it was easy to find one that fit our budget.
Arrived.
Hungry, after losing half the day to travel, we dropped off our bags and hit the town in search of sustenance. Old San Juan is very walkable, and it wasn't long before we found a cozy restaurant that featured traditional Puerto Rican cuisine. It was here that we discovered mofongo, a classic dish comprised of mashed green plantains and garlic, stuffed with meat and topped with a rich Creole sauce. We found it relaxing to while away a few hours, simply strolling around the old city, absorbing its charms. Before we knew it, we were hungry and thirsty again. Having previously traveled in Cuba, it began to feel natural to compare Old San Juan to Havana Viejo. Both have grand 16th century Spanish forts and stately old buildings lining narrow brick-paved roads, but it was clear that while everything is more affordable in Cuba, Puerto Rico offers a much broader range of readily available goods and services. In addition to exceptional traditional cuisine, we soon learned that San Juan also boasts a variety of restaurants with international offerings. Based on the recommendation of our hosts at the hotel, we went to breakfast at Carthage Express. It's a Tunisian diner whose menu is divided between standard American fare and North African dishes to satisfy a more adventurous palate. Sufficiently fueled for our next excursion, we set off on foot to go learn some stuff. After Christopher Columbus discovered Puerto Rico in 1493, Spain soon realized the island was the key to the Caribbean, essential to the control of European expansion into the Americas. As such, they planned to defend it fiercely. By 1783, the forts of San Felipe and San Cristobal were complete, as was the Paseo de Moro, a towering masonry wall that connected the two forts as well as encircling all of San Juan. Due to this state-of-the-art defense system, Spain was able to repel English, Dutch, and French invaders for hundreds of years. By the mid-1800s, the walls held firm, but civil unrest was brewing from within them. The population was growing, and the people of San Juan began to feel like prisoners. Spain eventually bowed to public pressure, agreeing to demolish the inland walls, allowing the city to expand. Subsequently, after an uprising and the decades-long growth of a populist reform movement operating on the platform that Puerto Rico should be allowed to govern itself, Spain finally granted Puerto Rico its autonomy. Unfortunately, this taste of independence was short-lived. On July 25, 1898, just 8 days after Puerto Rico's autonomous government began to function, the U.S. invaded, capturing both Puerto Rico and Cuba in a successful bid to expel Spain from the region and achieve total military and commercial dominance of the Caribbean. Today, as an unincorporated territory of the U.S., Puerto Rico operates semi-autonomously, but because international corporations enjoy lucrative tax incentives for operating on the island, wages for locals remain low while corporate profits are high. And as agriculture has largely been replaced by industry, the land of Puerto Rico is being developed out from under the feet of the indigenous working class. For dinner that night, we roamed the streets in search of a busy-looking place with outdoor seating, assuming that its popularity would be a sign of its quality. Even though we didn't get to sit outside, the nouveau Mexican restaurant La Madre did not disappoint. After about an hour's drive from San Juan, we arrived at the Yunque Rainforest Adventure Park, where we would experience nature on horseback.
Okay. First rule, there is no running allowed in this tour. There's a walking trail to the beach and back. Does everybody understand? Yeah. Beautiful.
Once our tour group was assembled and briefed on the do's and don'ts, we set off on what would be a 3.5-hour excursion. Most of the people in our group were tourists from the States with little to no experience riding. Fortunately, the horses were docile and well trained, so it was pretty easy to take in the sights and sounds while the horses did most of the work. After about 90 minutes, we arrived at the beach house, where we dismounted and stretched our legs. This little cantina, operated by the tour company, was a glorious oasis that afforded us just enough time for a snack, a drink, and a dip in the ocean. And then we were back on the trail. Afterwards, one of our guides apologized for putting us through this potentially treacherous river crossing. But I told her it had been my favorite part. It made me feel like a real cowboy. Yunque was a great find. In terms of affordability, knowledgeable staff, and great food, it's my favorite restaurant of the whole trip.